It was 1943 and the war was raging. Bombs were falling and destroying many of the homes. Chiara and her friends got together in the air raid shelters. They brought with them one book, the Gospels. They read sentences that struck them deeply, such as love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you would like them to do to you. And so immediately they began loving all the people around them. For instance, this poor man who was coming and asking for help, or this family that came to visit them, asking them for assistance. People began to find out that Chiara and her friends were helping others, and so they would bring them food, clothing, fruit, eggs, and many other things that they would then share with the poor. Once, something happened that had a great impact on my life. I was at home together with my younger sisters, and outside it was quite cold. My mom asked if someone could go and pick up some milk. She didn't ask me since I had plenty of homework to do. She asked my sisters, but since it was cold outside, they didn't feel like going. I felt I should do an act of love, and so I told my mom, I'll go. So I took the empty bottle and left. In order to get to the farm, I needed to walk 2 kilometers. When I got halfway, I felt the need to stop for a moment, since I felt a voice within me speaking, most probably because of the act of love I was doing. In fact, God manifests Himself to those who love Him. But He wasn't speaking to me with His voice, but within my soul. He said something like this, "You have one life, live it well. Leave everything and follow me. Give yourself completely to me." And that's what I did. And so now, after almost 70 years, the movement has spread all over the world. People from almost every country in the world have discovered this life and are living it. We too, like Chiara, want to bring this revolution of love throughout the world and share it with all our friends and family, so that soon the world will be one.
In 1953, there was a Jesuit priest, Father Paolo Nelica. He had some very important things to tell the Pope. In the 1950s, the Church was practically monitored in everything. The Church had been paralyzed by persecutions. Chiara chose only Cengia to go, because going to the east was a little difficult. It was necessary to put up a small business firm, so officially he was a merchant, but unofficially was the link between Czechoslovakia and the Vatican. And this was extremely dangerous. As we see from the previous video, Cengia was sent to Czechoslovakia by Chiara to be the link between the Vatican and the Church in the east of Europe. He also took on the task of teaching people about the Bible, but not only how to read it, but how to live it, as he had learned from Chiara. But just after a few years, he was captured by the authorities and sent to jail for talking about the Bible and thus converting many. In experience of Cengia in jail, it was said that the guards protecting his cell were required to be changed regularly because the guards too were drawn to him and his way. He treated the guards too with utmost respect, as if he saw Jesus in them too. He was released after a year, after everything in Czechoslovakia had cooled down. Thereafter, he was sent to the Philippines to spread the way of life of living the gospel. Father Joseph Tashner, SVD, who met the way of life of Chiara in Europe, was sent by the SVD, his congregation, to the Philippines. He wrote letters to Chiara regularly to update her. Father Tashner saw this great potential in the Philippines. He wrote to Chiara asking Chiara to send a few of her people to spread this way of life of the gospel. Chiara entrusted cengia with this task, seeing the potential in the Philippines and how from the Philippines this way of life could be spread to Asia. Cengia arrived in the Philippines on February 22, 1966. He says, "Finally we landed at our destination, Manila. It was 10 o'clock in the evening. We were imagining the celebration upon our arrival, but there was no one at the airport to meet us. What could have happened? After countless letters and telegrams, now nobody? 5 of us were surrounded by our luggage as we waited at the exit of the airport, and I continued to reassure the others. They should be arriving soon, but it was already past midnight. A distinguished gentleman, a rich and influential businessman from Manila, who had come over on the same flight, stayed around, giving us advice and constantly asking us, 'But is there someone coming to fetch you?' He had understood that we were all missionaries. As it was past midnight, he asked us if we had at least a contact telephone number or an address. We mentioned Pope Pius XII Catholic Center. We later learned that his driver had been waiting for him in the car for the past hour. He immediately called a taxi for himself, and with his car he instructed his driver to bring us to the Pope Pius Center and not to leave us until we were all settled." So, why did I choose my house as a historic place to present in this video? I chose this video because this is where cengia arrived first. From here, he spread the way of life of Chiara to all of Asia just by being a witness. He went through many hard times doing this, but he achieved everything just by helping others, seeing Jesus in all, and being a true witness.
I wanted to share with you a personal experience I had with cengia. One time I had to accompany him to Baguio for a few days of rest. He was very tired. When we were there, I was amazed at his concept of rest. For him, in the morning he told me, let's go for a stroll, Freud. And that meant getting into the car and going to pay a visit to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. And this was also repeated in the afternoon. One time, on our way to the Blessed Sacrament, we met a crazy man who was very dirty and practically without any clothes. We passed him, and since I was going fast, he said, "Was that a beggar?" And I said, "Yes." On our way back, we met him again, and this time, cengia made me stop the car, and before I could do anything, he was out of the car already and went to this beggar, to this crazy man, no? And so I parked the car properly, and I also ran towards them because I was afraid that the crazy man can do something bad to cengia. When I got there, cengia gave him 100 pesos and was already giving him a blessing. And when we got back into the car, there was silence, and then he says, "It is Jesus. He is Jesus, isn't he?" This is my short experience with cengia.